You are Locked On Rockets Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, for as much fun as we had a couple of nights ago, the last couple of games, and the Rockets ended up forcing this thing to a Game 7, it all came to a screeching halt in that Game 7 at the Toyota Center tonight as the season comes to an end at the hands of a team that has put the end to a Rockets season many a times in this generation of Steph Curry basketball out there in Golden State. His career is getting ready to come to an end, but it is absolutely not going to come to an end until he sends the Rockets home. And it really wasn't even him tonight that did it. That's the frustrating thing. It wasn't him that did it in the series. That's another frustrating thing. There's so many frustrating things to talk about. The same issues that popped up all season long pop up again tonight. We'll go through those. We'll also get into the offseason ahead for the Rockets because, well, what happens when you lose? You start to look to what is ahead, and what is ahead is a very important summer for this Rockets franchise as they cannot stand pat on what they have. Even if they do like some of the pieces, they have to do some maneuvering to get themselves into a spot to where they can win series like this. Hello and welcome tonight to the Locked On Rockets Postcast. I am Michael Connor. Thank you for stopping by and watching the show. If you are live or if you're watching it later on, the Rockets' awesome season. Let's just put it that way. This was a season that we didn't have this expectation for. It was an awesome season that ends in a very, very tough way. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Rockets Postcast brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So, what are you talking about more than anything from this one? Let's get to it right this very second.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Number one, as much as I don't like them, as much as everybody in the city of Houston doesn't like them, this is for all the dumbs that don't listen with their ears. Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors tonight. They punked the Rockets. You heard it here first. I said it out my mouth. They bullied the Rockets all night long. The Rockets played a style of basketball tonight that was begging for fouls half the time. They got punked at the rim all night long. They didn't finish at the rim all night long. They had absolutely no flow offensively all night long. They couldn't knock down threes to save their life. They couldn't do anything. And that is because the Golden State Warriors played bully ball. And they kicked the Rockets' butt tonight. And the Rockets ran out of gas. And then they quit at the end. They tried and tried and tried. They had nothing left. And they were done. That's why they lost the basketball game tonight. 31% from the three-point line, 40% from the field. I mean, their free throw percentage was at least acceptable considering how bad it was earlier in this series at 71. Out-rebounded Golden State by a ton, 52-37. Didn't take advantage of anything. The same offensive issues that plagued this Rockets team all season long ended up coming back to bite them in the backside once again tonight in a game where they needed it in the worst place ever. You know, the reason why this, of all the losses in the past, you're never going to get over, and again, I know that on the broadcast, on the national TV broadcast, they do this all the time. The Warriors, this against the Rockets, that against the Rockets, whatever. It's a different era. Literally none of the players for the Rockets that were on those teams are here. It's long gone. We went through years of losing after that to watch them get back here. I don't even judge. The two can't be judged. You wanted more out of this season, and I wanted more out of this season and expected more out of this season because they elevated my expectations so quickly during the year like I did for everybody else. Like, you finish And yes, the Western Conference was down this year compared to the Eastern Conference. A 52, where they end up winning 52 games in the regular season, that typically isn't a 2 seed in the West. That's a, 4-5. Great season. But now they are suddenly a 2 seed, and they fought their backsides off to get there at the end of the season. And they do all this, and you say, man, they're arriving quickly. The parallels to me are very similar to the Houston Astros in 2015, where they busted out that year. It got into the postseason. Those Astros won a wild card game in New York. And then they went to Kansas City, and they got it to Game 5. And they just didn't have enough. And it was the breakout year. It wasn't expected to happen that quickly. I'm not saying that we didn't expect the Rockets to make the playoffs this year, but they took the leap this year to a spot in the standings that we were not expecting. So that's why, I don't know how to channel my emotions for it. I am ticked off at what we just watched. I hated every second of what we just watched. That was a rough 2.5 hours of my life. I feel it like all of you deep down in my gut right now. It sucks. But I also feel the joy of having good basketball back, seeing the bright light at the end of the tunnel for what they can accomplish because they are still so darn young. And then knowing that if you make some tweaks here and there in the offseason, maybe next year, given the landscape of the Western Conference, you're right there battling for the 1 seed if you make the right moves. What's the right move? I don't know just yet. We will talk about that. In terms of this series, I think Amin Thompson tonight showed that he is, without a doubt, that dude. If he could ever develop any sort of shot, the Rockets have the piece of the franchise right there. Alpy's a good running mate, a good number 2. I would like him to really continue to work on refining his touch around. He's got great touch, but his touch around the rim. At times in this series, I felt like he was flailing and throwing things up and in a lot of just out of control moments. And there was some of that tonight. They don't get it twisted. Alpy played his backside off. He played hard. He played good defense in this series. You could see he was out of gas at the end. Fred VanVleet started off so poorly. Overall, I know that tonight wasn't anything to write home about. What did Fred end up with tonight? Just 14. But he had a lot of big moments and big games in this series to where you feel pretty good about him. Dylan Brooks was a rough last few games for him. Steven Adams was spectacular for the Rockets in this series. I don't think you're going to see Steven Adams. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I'm going to guess you don't see Steven Adams back in Houston next year because I think somebody's going to come pay him to be their starting center. Hope again that I'm wrong, that he just loves the Rockets so much he's willing to take the $10 to $15 million a year or whatever it is, and because that's what they get now if you're an average NBA player. And he's fine with playing 25 minutes a game. Maybe he's just at his stage of his career. That's what he's going to do. Still feel good about Jabari. Didn't do anything tonight. Tari, still feel good about him. We all know that the Rockets have a big amount of expectation on Reed Shepherd. And I think next year is going to be a year for him. The most disappointing thing about this series, and he's not why they lost the series by any means, but as I sit here and, we're soaking it all in of what we just witnessed, the biggest disappointment in this series was the fact that Jaylen Green, outside of a single game where he went off, was a big, fat no-show. I can't think of a player that meant less on the floor in a series, since I watched James Harden at times. And I'm not trying to compare him to James Harden because James did his disappearing act again yesterday in Game 7. But when you just run through the games for Jaylen Green in this series, I mean, it's pretty freaking incredible, to be honest with you. Game 1 of the series, 7 points. Game 2 goes nuts for 38. Game 3, 9. Game 4, 8. Game 5, 11. Game 6, 12. And then tonight, 8 points. He wants to be one of the best two guards in the league. All of his teammates said that he can be, and he has the talent for that, and people say it constantly. He's a freak of an athlete. He has the ability to get to the rim like nobody's business, but players that are of that stature don't do that in series. And I don't care if it's your first series in the playoffs. He didn't show up. The moment was entirely too big for him. Entirely too big for him. He is limited offensively from the standpoint of we know that he can't shoot consistently well enough. But man, that was to not even be an option on the floor for the Rockets in this series was embarrassing. And he was that again tonight. Guys out there playing 30 minutes. Honestly, do you even remember that he was out there? Can you think of anything? I got nothing. They can grow from this. I asked that question right there, and you see it in our graphics up there. Can they grow from this? Yes, they can grow from this. They will grow from this. If there's anything I feel confident in, it is the fact that Ime Udoka is a guy and a coach that's going to have that chip on his shoulder always. And his players are going to play with that chip on their shoulder, and they're going to go from this, and they're going to take this and put that chip on their shoulder from this. Had every chance to end this. And the Warriors aren't championship contenders anymore. They're not. Every chance to knock them down and maybe start to put the end to that era of basketball. They can probably hang on for a couple more years, but of being playoff team and whatnot, but they're not championship contenders. And it would have been sweet to knock that out tonight. I mean, technically, I guess they are championship contenders because they're still alive, but they're not winning at all. Frustrating night. Season comes to an end. Let's talk about the summer. What has to happen? Where they go from here? Let's do that next here on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. First up, though, I want to tell you guys right now here on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. This show is brought to you by Betterhelp. The world has made a lot of progress when it comes to mental health, but there is still a long way to go. Too many people still avoid therapy because they're afraid of being judged. But the truth is, taking care of your mental health should be just as normal as going to the gym or eating healthy. This Mental Health Awareness Month, let's normalize getting help and encourage everyone to prioritize their well-being. Because when people feel supported, families, workplaces, and entire communities are better for it. We're all better with help. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. And one more message before we get back to our Rockets discussion after the season comes to an end tonight. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Look, maybe you're like me, you and your wife, your husband, whoever, your partner, you've got something going on, you want to manage that money together. Well, managing it with your partner smoother than ever. You can track your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress, thanks to Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Rockets season ends tonight at the hands of the Golden State Warriors in Game 7. This is the Locked On Rockets Postcast. I'm your host, Michael Connor. Thank you for watching. If you're live or later on, make sure that you hit the subscribe button at the channel if you're listening on the Locked On Rockets audio feed. Appreciate you guys for listening all season. This show will go into hibernation now until the season returns later in 2025. But it's been a ride this season. It's been a lot of fun taking it in with you guys. I appreciate you guys sticking in with me all season long on the audio feed and on the YouTube page. Don't forget, Rockets coverage never stops, though. Jackson Gatlin has all your coverage with the Locked On Rockets daily podcast, which you can, again, check out anywhere that you get your podcast and right there on his Locked On Rockets YouTube page as well. All right. Well, actually, you know what? Before we go to where they go this offseason, let's give out a player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Normally, when the season comes to an end, I wouldn't give this out to anybody tonight, but I've given it to Amin Thompson tonight. He deserves it. 24 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Calf became an issue there late in the game. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious. Came back out, played through it. I'm telling you, if there's one thing that I gather more than anything else, he is that guy. And I think the thing that I love the most watching him, you can tell between the ears, he has it. The question will become is how can he develop his offensive game enough to be versatile enough to be something that's difficult to, he doesn't have to be an unbelievable shooter. There have been plenty of guys in this league that have made careers not being unbelievable shooters, but just being a little bit more of a threat and being able to knock down some more things, have some more versatility to his game can be massive. He can be the best player on this team for a very long time. He is more of an athlete than anybody else, and he plays with more of a will in his game than maybe anybody else in the league right now. It is tremendous to watch. So, congrats to Amin Thompson. He gets it tonight for the final game of the 2024-2025 season. So, let's finish here. Going ahead. What is ahead this summer? It's an important summer for the Rockets. Kind of mentioned it the other day. Tim McMahon of ESPN had it. He said that the Rockets are more than likely to stick with the group they have than, go out and make a huge splash. I think a night like tonight will not going to make you panic, but I think it's going to remind you that you can't just return with the same roster. Here's what I know. The guys that you look at on this roster that you know for sure coming back. Amin Thompson, like we mentioned. Alpi Şengün coming back without a doubt. Fred VanVleet coming back. Jabari Smith, I'd say coming back, but if they need a piece in a trade for a certain player, then he's an option. Same goes for Tari Eason, even though they'd like to have him back. Reed Shepherd, also from everything we've gathered, is one of those guys as well that they don't want to trade. So really, again, it's Alpi and Amin and Fred. Maybe Dylan. Money-wise, you might have to move him. I think there'd be no problem with moving him. He has meant a lot, and he has been part of the rebound here, and I don't want to discount him. He gets crapped on way too much at times for certain things. It wasn't great the last couple of games. Did some dumb stuff tonight, but I thought he had a pretty good year overall. And probably his best overall NBA season. But it's clear they have to be deadlier on the offensive side. They need a guy that can run the offense at times. They need a guy that can get the ball in his hand and say, give it to me, and I'm going to get the bucket. We know the names that are going to be out there. The number one situation, of course, that we've all been watching for a year is the Phoenix Suns. What's going to happen with the Phoenix Suns? They've been linked for a very long time to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is 36 now, going on 37. He's not young. You'll have him for 1 year. I believe his contract has 1 year left on it. Let me pull it up real quick. Kevin Durant will be 37 years old when the season starts, basically, September 29th. He will be 37 years old. Averaged 26 points per game this year, 52% from the field, 43% from three. The guy can still play and can still score at will. At some point, it'll fall off, but right now still looks like he has it. Under the contract next season for $54.7 million. And he and the Suns are very clearly heading for a divorce because that team is going to need to blow things up. His teammate, Devin Booker, is also a player that is out there that is talked about, but everybody at the Suns organization keeps saying he's not available, he's not available, he's not available. Everybody's available for the right price. And if the Suns are smart, the 28-year-old going on 29 when the season starts next year, Devin Booker is absolutely available. That is the kind of player, age-wise, that the Rockets go and make a move for. Is it a perfect age? Nah, you'd probably prefer Devin Booker to be 26, 27 when you're trading for him, but 29 is not bad at all. Contract-wise, he's under contract through the 2027-2028 year. He's making 53 next year, 57 the year after that, 61 the following year. And then there's the last name of the big names that we know of so far. And we know how the NBA offseason gets. It gets a little rowdy. It gets a little crazy. We'll see who moves or if anybody at all. I feel like some of them are going to move. Giannis is the other name. The 30-year-old going on. When will he be 31? He'll be 31 this upcoming December. He is under contract longer, or just about as long. 2 more years plus an option year, $54 million, $58, and then $62 million. The question is, I feel like for sure at this point, the Rockets are going to dip into that world. I think that they're going to go big game fish hunting for somebody. And I think that they will because they clearly have a need for it. And you need to capitalize on some of this talent that you have that's affordable while you have it and the ability to do that. If they don't go big game hunting, they have to just simply go out and get a bunch of shooters. That's what they have to do. Of the 3 that I mentioned, though, like I said, Devin Booker is the ideal situation for this franchise because he's not super old. Kevin Durant is super old. Phoenix is going to value him trade-wise far more than he's worth at his advanced age of his career. Giannis is going to take an absolute haul because he's the freak. He still is a scoring champ. And he's still going to be a game wrecker for at least another 5 years. I think I'm going to go back and forth on it because I just don't know if Booker's going to be attainable because I just have this feeling that the Phoenix Suns are going to be stupid. I guess if I was going to power rank them, it's Booker, it's Durant, and it's Giannis. And hear me out on the Giannis thing real quick. I don't love the Giannis idea as much as everybody else. Would I be mad if they got Giannis tomorrow? No. I'd be jacked because you're getting Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's an NBA champion, an MVP, and unbelievably difficult to guard. But he is everything that they don't need from the standpoint of his offensive game is just what they do now. But he's better at it than everybody else they have. I get that. Doesn't shoot threes. He'll never shoot threes. He can't shoot threes. He doesn't space the floor like that. And he can't get his jumper to ever do anything because it's just not good. Where Booker can be a knockdown shooter. And Kevin Durant, like I just gave you the numbers there, absolute dead eye still to this day. Player ranking wise, I gave you the 3. Realistic trade-wise, because of cost to get, and I don't think you really have to go give up the farm and give up a ton of young players to get him, I almost think it does make the most sense if you're going out and doing a deal like this is getting a Kevin Durant. And I almost want to just yell at myself for saying that. You get Kevin Durant, you have him for a few years. You hope that he brings that veteran leadership. You hope that he's still a sniper. You deal with his defensive deficiencies. You deal with him getting hurt like 4 times a year. Hope he's ready to go for the playoffs, and he can snipe people away in the playoffs when it comes to shooting a basketball with this group around him, and give them back control of their draft picks. Good to go. But again, if Phoenix wants to do a Devin Booker deal, sign me up there as well. So this is as important of a summer as they have had in a very, very long time. They can't screw it up. They can absolutely not screw it up this summer. They have to go out and knock it out of the park. If they don't, you could derail this whole run if you do it wrong. They have done a lot of things very well in terms of building a roster, picking the right talent. They have not really whiffed badly on anybody at all. I'm interested to see what they've got up their sleeve. I hate that we don't get to do this show anymore. I hate that we don't get to watch them anymore because the season has come to an end. Like I mentioned earlier, I appreciate all of you watching all season long, live, recorded, whenever it was, listening on the audio feeds. This specific show, the Locked On Rockets Postcast, will be back next season, wrapping up games as soon as they finish like we do all year long. It's on to baseball, full baseball mode now, and Texans, before we know it, we even have some news coming for you guys on something here with some Texans coverage very soon. I'll give you guys some updates on that when I can. I hope you guys have as good of a rest of your Sunday as you could have. Go wash it off. Probably going to go watch Grey's Anatomy with my wife. Yeah, that's the kind of Sunday night it is for us after we just pained ourselves on the couch watching that. Talk to y'all again for Rockets coverage next season. Enjoy the summer. We'll talk then here on the Locked On Rockets Postcast.